Why Ali refused to fight this one man. They called him the greatest, the man who danced through lightning, the man who broke every giant in his path. Liston, Frazier, Foreman. He faced them all. He conquered them all. But there is a name you don't hear in the highlight reels. A man who sat on a throne in Havana, waiting. $5 million. That was the price, the biggest payday in history. The world was screaming for it. The promoters were begging for it. But the fight never happened. Ali didn't just avoid him. He looked at the tapes. He saw the power. And for the first time in his life, the greatest stayed silent. Why? Was it fear? Was it politics? Or did Ali finally find the one man who could truly break the butterfly? Today we go behind the Iron Curtain to the fight that would have changed everything. This is the story of the one man Muhammad Ali refused to face. His name was Teofilo Stevenson. Imagine a man, 6'5", chiseled out of mahogany, moving with the grace of a middleweight, but hitting with the force of a falling building. In the 70s, the world was obsessed with Ali, but in the amateur ranks, they were terrified of Stevenson. He didn't just win, he destroyed. 3 Olympic gold medals, back to back to back. He wasn't a boxer, he was a phenomenon. A ghost in the amateur world that the pros were desperate to catch. American promoters flew to Cuba. They brought suitcases of cash. They offered him $5 million. In 1976, that wasn't just money. That was a kingdom. They told him, leave Cuba, turn pro, fight Ali, become the richest man on earth. But Stevenson looked them in the eye. He didn't blink, and he asked them a question that still echoes in the halls of boxing history. What is $5 million against the love of the 8 million Cubans? He stayed. He remained an amateur, a king without a crown in the professional world. But Ali was watching. He saw the tapes. He saw that straight right hand. It was a laser. It was a career ender. The world wanted to know who was truly the greatest. The American hero or the Cuban giant. The hype was suffocating. The tension was real. But behind the scenes, the talk of a fight was becoming a nightmare. Money. It talks. It screams. It breaks even the strongest men. In 1978, $5 million was more than a fortune. It was a king's ransom. The promoters were relentless. They smelled blood. They smelled the biggest gate in the history of the sport. 1 fight, 10 rounds. That was the offer. They didn't care about the amateur rules. They didn't care about the Olympics. They wanted the spectacle. Ali was at the top of the mountain. He was the most famous face on the planet. But he was also getting older. His legs weren't as fast. His chin had taken 1,000 hammers. On the other side, Stevenson was a machine in his prime. A terrifying blend of youth and raw, unrefined power. The deal was on the table. The contracts were drafted. The world waited with its breath held. In the gyms of Miami, they were whispering. They were saying Ali was hesitant, that he was questioning his own speed against the Cuban giant. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about the risk. If Ali lost to an amateur, his legend would be shattered. The greatest would become the second best. The pressure from the American media was suffocating. Fight him, Ali. Prove you're the king. But Ali was a master of the mind. He knew when to dance, and he knew when to wait. The temptation was there. The mountain of gold was waiting. But the price of a loss? That was something no amount of money could ever buy back. Let's talk boxing, real boxing. Ali was the king of the strike and move. He would dazzle you. He would frustrate you. He would make you miss. And then he would make you pay. But Teofilo Stevenson wasn't just another brawler. He was a technician, a sniper. He had a reach like a crane. And that right hand? It wasn't a punch, it was a bullet. Ali's greatest weapon was his movement. But by the late 70s, those legs were heavy. The butterfly was starting to land. He was taking more shots. He was relying on his chin more than his feet. And you don't rely on your chin against a man like Stevenson. Stevenson didn't chase. He waited. He controlled the center of the ring like a predator. If Ali tried to dance, Stevenson would cut the ring. If Ali tried to clinch, Stevenson would use that massive frame to shove him off. Ali's camp knew it. Angelo Dundee knew it. They saw what happened to everyone who stepped in front of that Cuban right hand. They went to sleep. It was a stylistic nightmare. A tall, disciplined counterpuncher against an aging legend who could no longer run for 15 rounds. Ali was a genius of the ring. He could see the traps before they were set, and he saw the trap in Havana. He knew that one mistake, one split second of slow feet, and the greatest would be looking at the lights. It wasn't just fear of a man, it was respect for the danger. Ali knew, some risks are too high, some legends are too precious to gamble. But this wasn't just about leather and sweat, this was about power. We're in the heart of the Cold War. The world was divided. Two giants staring each other down across a narrow stretch of ocean. On one side, the American dream. On the other, the Cuban Revolution. The U.S. government didn't want their king to fall to a communist hero. And Fidel Castro? He wasn't about to let his greatest treasure leave the island just to line the pockets of American promoters. The rules were a wall. To fight Ali, Stevenson had to turn professional. To turn professional, he had to defect. He had to leave his home, his family, his people. He had to betray everything he stood for. The Cuban government called professional boxing human trafficking. They saw it as a meat market. Ali was caught in the middle. He was a rebel himself. He understood standing up for your beliefs. He had lost 3 years of his own career for refusing the draft. He saw a reflection of himself in Stevenson, a man who wouldn't sell his soul for a dollar sign. The politicians played their games. The State Department frowned. The Cuban sports ministry shook their heads. The fight became a pawn on a global chessboard. It was too big for a ring. It was too heavy for a glove. The borders were closed. The red tape was thick. And as the sun set on the 70s, the dream of Ali versus Stevenson began to fade into the fog of history. Politics did what no boxer could ever do. It stopped the greatest fight that never was. The world wanted blood. The world wanted a winner and a loser. But Ali and Stevenson, they wanted something else. They finally met. Why, not in a ring, not under the blinding lights of Las Vegas. They met as brothers, two legends who had carried the weight of their nations on their shoulders. Ali looked at the giant from Havana. He didn't see an enemy. He didn't see a paycheck. He saw a man who had sacrificed millions for his people, just like Ali had sacrificed his prime for his faith. There was a moment, a quiet moment away from the cameras. Ali leaned in. He looked at Stevenson's massive hands, the hands that could have ended his reign. He whispered, "You are the only man who could have beaten me." It wasn't a boast. It wasn't trash talk. It was a confession. They walked together, two old warriors. They talked about boxing, but they talked about life, about the things that truly matter when the cheering stops and the lights go dark. Stevenson never regretted staying in Cuba. Ali never regretted the path he took. The fight didn't need to happen. In that meeting, the question of who was better died. It was replaced by something much more powerful. Respect, pure, unfiltered, deep. They were two sides of the same coin. Two men who proved that sometimes the greatest victory is the fight you choose not to take. They left as friends, knowing that in the eyes of history, they both remained undefeated. History is written in blood, but legends, they are written in soul. The fight between Ali and Stevenson remains the greatest what-if in the history of sports. We never got the knockout. We never got the scorecard. But maybe we got something better. We got two men who refused to be bought. Two men who valued their people more than a paycheck. Ali didn't just avoid a punch. He avoided a tragedy. He preserved a legacy that changed the world. He knew. Stevenson knew. And now you know. The greatest battle isn't always in the ring. It's in the heart. What do you think? If they had stepped into that ring in 1978, who would have walked out the king? The butterfly or the Cuban giant? Tell me your memories of that era in the comments. Let's talk boxing. If you respect the legends, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We keep the history alive, together. Until next time, stay strong.